In the golden age of Roman gods, when temples of Jupiter and Venus gleamed upon mountains and cities, there lived a mortal king and queen who ruled a peaceful and prosperous kingdom. Their land overflowed with rivers, gardens, and marble palaces that shone beneath the sun. They had 3 daughters, each fair in her own way, but the youngest, Psyche, was unlike anyone who had ever lived. From her birth, her beauty was spoken of across the lands. People said even Venus, goddess of beauty herself, must have shaped her face. When Psyche walked through the streets, crowds gathered in awe. Artists abandoned their paintings of Venus to paint Psyche instead. Poets sang her name more than the goddesses. Slowly, the temples of Venus grew silent. The altars stood cold, the offerings fewer. Priests in her temples whispered in fear, for mortals now worshipped a living girl more than the goddess of love. Venus's wrath. High above in her golden palace upon Olympus, Venus gazed down and saw her shrines empty. Her heart flamed with jealousy. Her beauty, once worshipped by all, now seemed forgotten because of a mortal girl. Before her golden mirror, Venus spoke in fury. "A mortal dares to steal my glory? She shall learn what it means to challenge the goddess of love." She called her son, Cupid, god of desire, a radiant youth with shining wings and a golden bow whose arrows could command any heart. "My son," Venus said coldly, "go to the mortal Psyche. Make her fall in love with the most vile, hideous creature you can find, a monster so loathsome that her beauty will become her curse." Cupid bowed and obeyed, descending from Olympus on silent wings. Fate intervenes. That night, Cupid entered Psyche's chamber, where moonlight danced across her sleeping face. He lifted an arrow, ready to strike her with a curse, but as he looked closer, his hand trembled. Her beauty was pure and gentle. For the first time in eternity, the god of love felt love himself. In that moment, he accidentally pricked his own skin with his arrow, and instantly his heart burned with passion for her. Startled, Cupid dropped the arrow and vanished into the shadows of the night, leaving Psyche untouched, unaware that the god of love himself had become her destiny. The curse of lonely beauty. Psyche's fame spread like sunlight. Kings sent messengers to see her, and people journeyed from distant lands just to glimpse her face. But though men worshipped her, none dared to love her. They feared that Venus's wrath would destroy anyone who tried. Her 2 elder sisters married noble princes, but Psyche remained alone, admired by all, loved by none. Her father, heartbroken, went to the oracle of Apollo, the sacred place where divine voices spoke the will of the gods. Kneeling before the shining altar, he prayed, "Why is my daughter so beautiful, yet no man dares to love her?" The oracle's voice echoed through the temple. "Psyche's beauty is meant for no mortal man. She is destined for a husband feared even by the gods. Take her to the highest mountain, dressed in bridal robes, and leave her there. Her destined husband, a winged monster, shall come to claim her." The king and queen wept, but they obeyed the prophecy. Psyche, though afraid, accepted her fate with quiet courage. "If this is the command of heaven," she said softly, "then I will not resist." The Mountain of Fate. On the appointed day, Psyche was led to a lonely mountaintop. The wind whirled around her as the sky blazed gold and crimson. Her parents kissed her goodbye, believing they would never see her again. As the last light faded, a soft breeze stirred. It was Zephyr, the gentle west wind, sent by divine will. He lifted Psyche from the cold rock and carried her through the clouds. She drifted like a feather until she was placed in a beautiful garden filled with singing birds, fountains, and blossoms that glowed like stars. Before her rose a magnificent palace, walls of silver, doors of ivory, floors of shimmering jewels. As she stepped forward in wonder, a calm, unseen voice spoke. "Welcome, Psyche. All this is yours. Enter and fear nothing." And so began the most mysterious chapter of her life, the hidden palace and the invisible husband who came only by night. She entered cautiously. The air inside was warm and filled with music, though she saw no musicians. Golden lamps floated in the air, lighting her path. Gentle voices served her, unseen yet kind, preparing food, drawing her bath, offering her gowns of silk and gold. Psyche began to believe she was dreaming. The invisible husband. That night, as the stars shimmered outside her window, Psyche heard soft footsteps. A gentle voice, calm, deep, and kind, spoke beside her. "Do not be afraid, my beloved. You are safe here. This is your home." She could not see him in the darkness, but his words carried warmth and care. Though unseen, he treated her with tenderness. Each night he came to her, speaking softly, asking about her day, sharing laughter and comfort, and before dawn he vanished again. Psyche's fear slowly turned to peace. She began to love the unseen voice that filled her nights with kindness, though she longed to see the face of her mysterious husband. The sisters' visit. Days passed in joy, until one morning Psyche heard distant voices crying her name. Her heart leapt. It was her sisters, mourning at the mountain where she had been left. Zephyr, the gentle west wind, heard Psyche's sorrow and carried her words to her sisters. Then, at her request, the wind lifted the sisters from the mountain and brought them to the palace. When they arrived, their eyes widened in astonishment. They saw gardens glowing with light, golden fountains, and halls of silver and crystal. Psyche welcomed them with tears of joy and showed them her treasures, jewels, fine gowns, and feasts that appeared as if by magic. But envy began to grow in their hearts. They whispered to each other as they looked around. "Who is her husband? Why does he hide himself? Perhaps he is not a man at all, but a monster who keeps her prisoner." Before leaving, they planted seeds of doubt in Psyche's heart, seeds that would soon grow into her greatest mistake. The seeds of doubt. After her sisters left, Psyche wandered the glowing halls of the palace, their words echoing in her mind. "Who is your husband? Why does he hide from you? Perhaps he is a monster in disguise." That night, as she lay awake, fear began to grow where love once lived. Her husband had always been kind, his voice gentle, his presence comforting, but the thought of never seeing his face began to torment her. When he came to her that night, speaking softly as always, Psyche hesitated. "My lord," she whispered, "why must I never see you? Have I done something unworthy of your sight?" A silence followed, heavy and sad. He replied quietly, "Beloved, do not ask what must not be known. Trust is stronger than sight. If you love me, let this be enough." His words calmed her heart for a moment, but her sister's poison lingered like a shadow. The night of curiosity. When darkness fell again, Psyche waited until her husband slept. The moonlight streamed through the window like silver threads, and her heart pounded with doubt and fear. She lit a small oil lamp and stepped closer to the bed. The soft flame flickered, and there before her, not a monster, but the most beautiful being she had ever seen. Cupid himself lay asleep, his golden curls shining in the light, white wings folded gently, a quiver of arrows at his side. Tears filled Psyche's eyes. "O divine one, my love!" she whispered. But as she leaned closer in awe, a drop of hot oil fell from the lamp, landing on Cupid's shoulder. He awoke in pain and sorrow. Cupid's anguish. "Psyche!" he cried, rising from the bed, his wings flaring with light. "Was trust so hard for you? I warned you. Love cannot live where there is doubt." Before she could answer, he looked at her one last time, heartbroken yet still gentle, and flew through the window into the night sky. The palace trembled, the golden lamps dimmed. Her paradise vanished, leaving her standing alone in darkness. Psyche fell to her knees, calling his name, but only the cold wind answered. The morning of loss. When dawn came, the palace was gone, the gardens, the music, the light, all faded into mist. She found herself lying again on the lonely mountain top where she had first been left. Her heart shattered, she wept and cried, "Cupid, my love, forgive me. I saw your face only to lose you forever." And thus began her long journey, the quest for forgiveness and the trials that would test her soul. The 4 impossible trials. Lost and heartbroken, Psyche wandered across lands and rivers, searching for her lost love. She prayed to every god she met, but none dared to help her, for Cupid's mother, Venus, was furious. Finally, Psyche found herself before the shining temple of Venus. She entered, knelt down, and whispered, "Great goddess, I know I have offended you. But please, let me prove my devotion. I will endure anything to win back your son's love." Venus appeared in divine radiance, beautiful but cruel. Her eyes burned with jealousy as she spoke. "You wish to prove yourself worthy? Then you shall face my 4 impossible trials.